Let's roll.
What happens when the heavy hitters in sports radio come together? The Neutral Zone. With your host, Bird Gang representative Casual E from Casual Sports, me, Jay Adams from The Focus, and NFL vet Ed Smith from Easy Sports Talk. Buckle up for 60 minutes of NFL football previews and pick'ems. Hold tight as we preview this week's games with in-depth analysis and opinion and a flavor all our own. Bragging rights are on the line with the Neutral Zone Pick'em trophy up for grabs. It's the Neutral Zone. Lace them up. This is the Neutral Zone. We do this every Thursday at around this time. I am your host, Jay Love, Javon Adams, and as always, joining me is one and only Casual E, Earl Burnett, and of course, Sean McConnell with a fresh haircut, looking kind of fresh, man. I need to, what I'm saying, I'm looking kind of scruffy around
like
here.
10-10.
Coming to the McConnell Barber House, man. Come on in.
And typically we're joined by my man, Ed Smith. Easy. I'm sure he'll be popping in at some point. And so what Casual E likes to do to keep me on point, to make sure I'm like that teacher that has that person come in that has the clipboard and tries to see how they're doing. We bring guests in. And so of course we have the one and only Drew LaCava joining us. How are you doing, sir?
I'm telling you what, I'm doing great, guys. It's great to hear from you. Javon, Earl, Sean, it's always fun to connect. And, man, we got a lot of good football to talk about.
Absolutely.
I was really – I have to tell you, going in, I was worried about that Lions game because of a desperation-type, overlook-type attitude that I was starting to pick up from the Cardinals. And anytime you throw 3 interceptions, and I think this kid, Kyler, is going to be phenomenal, one of the most exciting quarterbacks in the game today, period, bar none.
Yeah.
But I just felt that they, it kind of the old line, they're starting to read the press clippings a little bit. Hopefully they've been humbled and they can get it back going at Carolina.
Yes, sir. And so what we like to do is we like to break this down into like 4 segments. The second segment is always dedicated to the Arizona Cardinals because at our heart, at our core, we are an Arizona Cardinals specific centric show. And so we definitely going to get into that. And so we like to break it down and it comes from the mind of me. And so sometimes, sometimes Earl likes to blame me on who I put in the first segment, and that's all good because I don't like Earl that much anyway. His voice is better than me anyway. But anyway, so we break that down, and then the second segment is always broken down into the Cardinals and their matchup. And so
if I can jump in here real quick, Jay. First things first, Jude, how you been, man? You've been gone for a minute. Give us a quick thing of where you've been these last few months and how's it been since you've been out of this sports thing?
It's man, this heat has been record-breaking, man, and I we had a chance to get up north there and just kind of take a break. When you're retired, you do what you got to do. Absolutely. And man, I'm real happy at the fact that my wife and I had a chance to just get out of this heat. It was just unbelievable, at times unbearable. But been watching the Cardinals, keeping an eye on them, and like I said, I think these guys are gonna have a really, really good year. But man, there is so much to talk about, and It's good to see the Pac-12 coming back, the Big Ten coming back. So a lot of good football news.
Cool.
Yes, sir. So one of the things that we do is we keep a tally, and typically I don't finish anywhere in impressive fashion. But so this is the third year we've been doing it. But Sean McConnell, let us know kind of where we stand before we get into it, because if there's anything that's cool, because I get sick of hearing Earl talk. So Jude talking is going to be something that catches my attention. So Sean, let's get into what are the standings in terms of where we stand right now with me, you, Earl, and E.
As the man that's holding this beautiful bronze-plated trophy next to me from last year, and Jude, you can't see it in the camera, but this is beautiful, beautiful trophy right here. You can go on Facebook and check it out. That's the trophy I won last year. But as we do the standings, once again, your boy is in first place, followed by Ed, behind by 1 point. Jay, you're behind me just by 3 measly points. Okay, all it takes is for me to fall in love with the Browns, and you're going to end up coming right past me. That happens every year. And Earl, a.k.a. Casual E, boy, you're sitting dead last, 6 behind me. Come on, man.
Damn, 6 already?
6 behind me.
Yeah.
Oh,
wow, I'm taking what we call in hip hop penitentiary chances this week. So we'll see how that goes. But let's get into it. So without further ado, let's get into it, because I want to get into New England at Kansas City. So New England, we know, as Ed and I have said ad nauseum, this is what Bill Belichick is going to do is run Cam Newton into the ground, and when he's into the ground, he's going to run him in even more. But we know Kansas City, they're operating offensively at for the most part, very, very high level. So going into this game, what do you think? We're going to go with, of course, our special guest. Jude, what do you think about this game with New England at Kansas City?
I don't see how Cam can get by this Kansas City team. I mean, they've met every challenge for the last year, winning the Super Bowl. Tough place to play, even with the noise isn't the same, of course, with the piped-in sound. But I agree with you. I think as brilliant as Belichick has been, I worry about Cam's health. He's one hit away. He's been running the ball a ton. We saw what happened in Seattle when everybody knew he was going to carry the ball on that goal line play, and I just think that it's a lot to ask. I don't care that he's 6'6", 250, big guy that does a tremendous job. I think Belichick will get this team to a postseason berth, but I worry about his health. I mean, he's already taken some shots. He's been, if it wasn't some of the stuff that he went through last year, I do see this team as a playoff team, but I do not see them beating Kansas City. That's just not going to happen. That offense is the best in the National Football League, and it's not even close.
What you got?
KC made a statement last week against Baltimore, and that statement's going to say the same this week. We're the defending champs, move over. Yes, New England can adapt to just about anything, right? But you're comparing a dependable sedan to a supercharged sports car. Kansas City's going to win.
Okay, Casual, what you got?
I'm with you.
I personally think that the Kansas City Chiefs are going to go undefeated. I'm telling you right now, I don't see anybody that's going to beat them.
Nah, dog. Nah.
They're going to go undefeated, dude. This is going to be the first team to ever do it. The test is going to be this Patriots team. That's going to be probably their toughest test coming up, probably the next game after this one. They get by these next two opponents. Who's going to beat them? I don't see anybody there that can beat them. Cam cannot throw for 160 yards and beat this Kansas City team. You got to be in that realm of where you were when you played the Seahawks and threw for 350 or so. And I don't think he can get that done against this Kansas City team. So, yeah, I'm going with the Chiefs, too.
I don't know how long I'm going to be able to do this, but I'm going to try to keep getting them in the first segment as long as I can, since I'm a Raiders fan. Raiders are coming in. Las Vegas Raiders are coming in 2-1, and the Buffalo Bills are coming in at 3-0. The interesting thing about this is I want to get your thoughts on, in terms of when you look at Josh Allen. Last week, there definitely some, he's not a perfect quarterback by any means, but he ended up winning that game. So you have to give him credit for that. We know that when I look at the way that John Gruden, when you think about Derek Carr, he's like that dude that he just leans on his quarterbacks and just grinds them down so much. You just wonder how much that they can take. But I want to get your thoughts on this matchup, because who knows how long, again, this is, I'm a Raider fan, how long it'll be a primary matchup. But let's get your thoughts on this one with the Raiders at the Bills. Casual E.
Well, the Raiders are.
Well, I'm going to tell you this right now. I'm a big fan of Josh Jacobs. I think this kid, his personal story, what he's done at one point, the running back, homeless. I'm a big fan of his. Now, John Gruden loves to collect quarterbacks. I mean, he's been notorious for all the guys he's worked with through the years. I'm a big fan of Josh Allen. He's physical. He's big. I love Stephon Diggs. The addition there is simply fantastic. I'm a big fan of Devin Singletary. I think this young man is going to have a great career. You got a new stadium, and it's the traveling Raiders circus, but I'm going to take Buffalo in a bit of an upset. And again, I never like teams that come east to west, but I'm going to take Buffalo. I think this team's for real. I think they're destined for the playoffs. And I think Josh Allen, each and every week, I mean, the kid is physical. I just am really impressed with him. And he's got enough running back support and wide receiver support this year to really make a nice run. I'm a big fan of the Bills and Allen, and I think McDermott is one of the more underrated coaches, came out of that Ron Rivera system, at Carolina, and a guy that just has his team believing. I'm taking the Bills to win on the road.
Interesting. What you got, Casual E?
Yeah, the Raiders, right, are a good team in my opinion. They're a really good team, but they just ran into a bad schedule, and the scheduling is what it is, and they just happen to run into two good teams. And this is another team that they're not going to be able to beat because this is one of the higher level teams than the Raiders are. They both can run the ball. I love what the Raiders do with Josh Jacobs, but in this game, the Buffalo Bills defense will kind of keep him on the wraps. The Raiders run him a whole lot. He's second in the league in attempts. He's got 68 attempts in running in 3 games, and that's behind Derrick Henry with 82. So, dang, that's a discrepancy there. But the Bills' rush defense is 8th overall, and they hold teams to about 105 yards per game average. So that's going to not bode well for the Raiders in this game. So I'm definitely going with the Bills.
What you got, Sean?
You know, Buffalo really impressed me last week with their win against the Rams. Able to answer every score and rise to the occasion. Putting up 450 yards of offense. I see that being difficult for Las Vegas to stop. Buffalo's going to pull away late.
Okay. So let's transition. I want to get into a little bit of maybe NFC West, in terms of rooting against those that are in the NFC West. So we're going to go with Seattle at Miami, and I'm going to start with you, Sean. But I want to ask this: when it comes to the early hype about letting Russ cook and do all these different things, your thoughts on it when you have Fitzpatrick or Fitzmagic and whatever you want to call it. I think Tua, eventually they're going to want to transition him in, and he's like almost like a Foles in a way, and we'll get to the Chicago Bears, in the later segment. But I want to get your thoughts on Seattle when it comes to, will Russell Wilson be able to keep this up? So let's start with you, Sean, and then we'll go to you, Earl.
I've seen no signs, no trends to prove me otherwise that he can't keep this up. So, yeah, I think Russell's going to keep this up. As far as whether or not he can cook, never been to any restaurant of his, so I can't tell you if he can cook. But I can tell you this: we questioned Seattle's defense the last couple of weeks, but lucky for them, they won't need it this week. This game is going to be a cakewalk, and bring out the umbrella drinks in Miami. Seattle wins.
Yeah,
what you got, Casual E?
How do you even stop Russell Wilson at this point? I mean, the man's thrown 14 touchdowns in 3 games. I mean, their defense is atrocious, but like Sean just said, you might not really need it this week. Jamal Adams on the Seahawks defense is going to be out of this game, so that's going to leave a little window open for Fitzpatrick to do a little of his little magic, but it's not going to be enough to hang with this Seattle team, that's for sure. Also, the Miami Dolphins had one of Russell Wilson's nightmares on their team, but he won't be playing in this game, Malcolm Butler. So it's all Seattle, pretty much.
And Jude, what do you got in this game?
I'm going to say I think Russell Wilson's the best clutch quarterback in all of pro football. I really do. I think, there's not a better money quarterback in the game today. And as long as Carson stays healthy, this is the team to beat in the NFC West. I see them rolling over the Dolphins. I mean, you're always going to get a hot and cold Fitzpatrick, and I think, he's always good for 2 or 3 interceptions, quite frankly.
Right.
Flores will eventually turn that around. He needs a couple more good drafts, but I am kind of curious of when they start working in Tua, because it could be close to time. You want to cultivate a talent like that. So I got to go with Russell Wilson and Seattle on a nice roll, and that will continue. Team to beat in the NFC West.
Man, sadly to say, but yes.
So when you talk about talent, we have to talk about Lamar Jackson and, of course, Baltimore Ravens and the Washington football team. And so Baltimore is coming into Washington. And I want to get your thoughts, and then we're going to start with you first, Earl, is that looking at Lamar, he's obviously leading the team in passing, but also in rushing as well. And last week, of course, goes up against one of the best, probably arguably the best quarterback in the National Football League in Mahomes. But have defenses started to figure him out? Is it possible to figure him out in this case? And so when you're going up against the Washington football team with,
I'm not saying that their quarterback is necessarily less than, but I don't know if he's necessarily in the top tier either. So when you're looking at that matchup, I'm just curious in terms of looking at teams that are expected to go far, if nothing else, than to win at least a playoff game when it comes to the playoffs. I want to get your thoughts on Baltimore at Washington in this particular game. Casual E, what you got?
When you're trying to chase down the best quarterback in the league, it makes you look mediocre. And it just made that game against Kansas City made Lamar just look average almost. But I still cringe at what they're doing with him, as well as just the same thing I do with Cam. They're running that guy way too much. Every time he goes and comes back and takes on a linebacker or takes on a DB, I just go, okay, here he goes. That injury's coming at some point. It's coming, and he can't be the leading rusher and leading passer for that team. Baltimore, and follow me on this when it comes to the Kansas City thing. Baltimore is smoky from Friday, and the Chiefs are Debo, and listen to me, and the Chiefs are Debo. So okay. when Smokey sees Debo coming, he sits down like, when he gone, I'll be talking again. And so now that the Kansas City Chiefs are out the way, Baltimore's going to look like Baltimore again. Wow. I'm definitely taking Baltimore for sure, though.
Yes, indeed. So, Jude, what you got in this one? What you think?
Well, look, Lamar is a tremendous talent. I do worry about his health and his hits. I mean, there's very few quarterbacks. The only one I can remember, and I'm going old school on you guys, is the Hall of Famer Fran Tarkenton, who was, similar to what I think Kyler does so well.
Right.
You can never, ever square up on a guy like Kyler. He just doesn't get hit. He slides or he's down before you can hit him. Right. I would love to see Lamar adopt that approach and just stay on the field. They've got exceptional. I love Hollywood Brown at receiver. I think they got really good tight end depth. I think this Ravens team is going to come and roll big time in their win over Washington. I don't see how they could lose. They're disappointed in what happened the other night, and I think they come back and win big.
Sean, what you got, man?
Yeah, I mean, last team, I was talking about cakewalks. Well, speaking of cakewalks, watch out for Baltimore to embarrass this team after losing on Monday Night Football. I mean, we mentioned, obviously, Lamar Jackson, almost 200 yards this season in rushing just for him. Hollywood Brown is impressive, like you said, Jude. No touchdowns yet. That's going to change on Sunday. I'm expecting 2 or 3 from Hollywood Brown in this game. No Chase Young. It's going to be no problem for Baltimore. They're going to walk into the end zone on occasion.
There we go. So that is the end of this first segment. We're going to come back and we're going to get into, of course, an extended conversation about the Arizona Cardinals as they go to Carolina to face the Panthers.
You are listening to the Neutral Zone right here on the hottest internet radio station on the web, KSRNAZ.com.
Welcome to the Neutral Zone Show. Ace him up.
You're good.
And we are back. It is the Neutral Zone. We do this every Thursday. And so, again, I am Javon J. Love Adams, joined by Casual E. Earl Burnett, and, of course, Sean McConnell. And, of course, we have the special guest. We had to clean the house, the Casual house, because we got Jude LaCava that's going to be drinking out of our glasses and not from our fine china. So we want to talk. So the second segment that we always talk about is the Arizona Cardinals, because we are at our heart and at our core an Arizona Cardinals centric and specific show. So the Cardinals are coming off of a loss. This is one, and I want to get your thoughts on this, gentlemen. Can this for the most part, and I'll say most part, be laid at the feet of Kyler Murray? And as we're getting into it, we know that there's safety issues possibly. There's been talk. I don't know if there's anything solidified about this, about Isaiah Simmons being maybe put in at safety and those types of things. But what do we have to do in order to be able to really put ourselves in a position to beat the Carolina Panthers. And I'm going to start with you, Sean, first. So what do you think about this game coming into in kind of a short reflection on the game, on last week's game?
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely going to be an interesting test for the Cardinals now that they're not as bulletproof as they thought they were. Carolina, like Jude had mentioned to earlier, they're desperate. They're very hungry for another win. They need what they can get. They need to prove that they can win without McCaffrey. And this isn't going to be a pushover game for them by any means. And I think this is going to come down to a lot of key factors because that week, that game against Detroit, there was a lot of things that went wrong. It's definitely not a gimme game. You got to keep to what works. You got to keep using Hopkins that everyone else will get open. You have to keep utilizing Fitzgerald in the short game. You can't be cute, like Earl and I always say, when Cliff plays those cute plays that just send to set you back. Kyler's got to stop forcing the ball into double coverage, and the receivers can't be tipping them up in the air for 5 seconds in the air while it's just hanging there. That can't happen. Yeah, the secondary is a big concern right now. Obviously, there's not a lot on the market that you can go get. Those players have probably already been picked up for the most part. I don't know if Isaiah Simmons at the safety role is, 1, a good idea, or 2, a good bet, but they're going to look into it, and we'll see if that can happen. But the secondary as a whole, I'm looking at Peterson, Murphy, the whole gang. They all have to step up in this game because the pressure is still there on the line. The secondary has to hold it up.
So, Jude, I want to ask you this. So, going off of what Sean was saying, one of the things that my partner Ed Smith and I often talk about or in this early part of the season is that this horizontal passing game and how maybe Cliff Kingsbury is using that in a lot of instances is kind of like a short running game. So, being able to try to have that take its place. Does that concern you? Or are we going way overboard when it comes to this? And how do you look at this matchup against the Carolina Panthers?
Well, I go back to the NFC East days when they were in the NFC East and they'd have to go back and play the Giants. And I never, ever like a team going back east, early morning game. I think it's a 10 a.m. kick. And you look at it and you go, okay, ripe for another possible upset. I would favor Arizona in this game, but I'm a big fan of Teddy Bridgewater. He's a survivor. I think what he did after that horrific knee injury, when he had a chance to come in even last year, there's no McCaffrey, but I will tell you this, I would be worried about this game if I'm Cliff Kingsbury. And you're right about the play calling. I mean, there is no substitute for a really good running game than just a running game. And, Kenyon Drake, he's had his moments at times. He certainly was brilliant last year, but I want to see more of a ground and pound time of possession game. Sometimes I think that they're relying too much on Hopkins. And listen, he's a phenomenal talent and a great acquisition. I credit Steve Keim for that. But I'm worried about this game. Going back east, early morning, it used to be the death knell for the Cardinals when they play Philadelphia or they play the Giants. And that was a really key issue back in the late 80s, early 90s. So beware of this game. I think hopefully they've been humbled. And, I think Cliff took a little bit of responsibility for the play calling last week. But don't get too cute. Use the improved offensive line. I love the new center that's doing a nice job for the most part. And I think this line has got something to offer in terms of just time of possession, play it straight, get back to some old NFL style of time of possession, grind away, and then take your shots. And don't allow, you look back at turnovers. It doesn't matter if it's the Super Bowl. 3 interceptions are going to kill you every time. It's obvious. And it really hurt their chances against the Lions. I was worried about the Lions going in because of the desperation of Matt Patricia trying to keep his job.
Right.
They were ripe, as we say, a trap game, and it turned out to be.
Yes, indeed. Casual E, what you got on this one, when you think about it, as you answer this, and we had a little talk about this because you were gracious or desperate enough to have me on your show last night. But when we talk about Kirk, so to being able to look at are you worried about being injury prone when it comes to your receiver that has such a high ceiling? And then also, obviously what you think about this game when it comes to the Arizona Cardinals.
I am concerned about Christian Kirk with the injury prone thing going on. This is what his third season, and he's always in the injury. I mean, on the injury list somewhere somehow. But if I'm the coach, if I'm Cliff Kingsbury, I'm not too concerned about it on the field because Andy Isabella has stepped in and done a pretty good job at being that next guy up. So you can always kind of make him, get a few more reps and keep him going as you get Christian to come back. But he has to stay on the field. Christian has to stay on the field if he's going to advance and be the next number 2 guy on this team behind Hopkins. He has to stay on the field. When it comes to this game, it feels like another trap game to me. Just like all you guys are saying, it does feel like that. It feels like a game that the Cardinals know they should win, and everybody thinks they should win, but it feels like a trap game because there's some things that are on the stat side that scare me, and that's Bridgewater is not a dink and dunk or a management or game managing type quarterback. He can get the ball downfield. In fact, that team is what? Averaging 273 yards per game passing, and we as a secondary are not doing a very good job at covering receivers deep. We are not doing a very good job at getting turnovers in the interception department. As a matter of fact, we have 0. So those two things together kind of scare me that he can get the ball to Andy, what's the kid's name? And Robbie Anderson all day long if we don't cover right. And so far we're having issues covering receiving, and it does not help that Buddha's not going to be there this week. We're going to be missing him in the safety position. And when you're talking deep balls, you got to have your main guy out there. And so that scares me. And then you turn around and let's look at this part of it also. The Cardinals are not doing a very good job at stopping the run either. As a matter of fact, we're giving up 110 plus a game at a 4.9 clip, almost 5 yards a carry. And that's to any running back. It doesn't matter who the running back is. So if you can't stop the run and you're getting beat deep, this can be a scary game that we can end up in a really close, tight battle, which we shouldn't be, but it can end up a really close battle. And like Jude's talking about going over to the East and being early in the morning, that we have never been good with that. So it just seems like all things are pointing toward another upset. But for us to get on track and do what we know we can do, this is all on Cliff. Cliff has to come out and not be so throw happy. Yeah, with the hand, and stop being so nervous behind the clipboard. You see his fingers twitching and the boards. Don't be so quick to try to get that trick play to work so fast. And again, you have to build up to trick plays. You have to let things, matriculate and build up, fool the defense, get them honest, and then, you fool them and get them over the top with a trick play or something. But he comes into games doing reverses in the first quarter, wide receivers, all over the place. Like, look, dude, just calm down. You have to get your running game a rhythm early. And he doesn't do that a lot. Drake is struggling right now because he doesn't get the ball early. Kyler's throwing the ball 5, 6, 7 times in a row on 2 or 3 drives early in the game before Drake even touches the ball. And so he has to come in with a better game plan and keep it balanced. Go back to last year's last 5 games where we were balanced and a power running game was incorporated into our offense. And that's how we hung with the 49ers in those games last year. And that's how we beat them this year. And that's how we hung in the game with Seattle and beat them last year with a power running game incorporated into an attack that's balanced. He has to do that. And I definitely want to see him get Larry more involved in this offense. There's no way that the heart and soul of this team can go with one catch with 0 yards and you don't look at him anymore in that game. And then when you do look at him, Kyler's forcing the ball, and that's where you got the picks at. So let's get a game plan with the running game going balanced and getting Larry more involved because he is what keeps this team energized. But I see them winning this game, but, man, it's going to be a tight one, man. It's going to be another one of those nail biters.
Yep.
Indeed. So Jude, I want before we move on to talk about the Monday Night Football game, I want to ask you this. I want to leave you with the last word when it comes to the Arizona Cardinals. So I've heard many ex-football players, ex-professional football players talk about breaking this game down into quarters, 4 games at a time. So if we're looking at, let's say, after we get done with this game, what is the area that the Cardinals need to improve on, whether it's defense, whether it's if you want to break it down into more micro and talk about secondary, linebacker play, off whatever it is, where do you see the Cardinals need to improve upon to continue this positive momentum that they started with, being at 2-1 this part in the season?
I want them to go a little more retro. What do I mean by that? I mean time of possession and run game. And then on the other side of the ball, I really want to see an emphasis on creating more turnovers. I mean, I think Earl said it right, that we've not seen that aspect of a defense. And, I know Vance Joseph wants to become a head coach again someday, and he'll get that opportunity. But you've got to be opportunistic. Mm-hmm. So, and yes, they need to continue to kind of thwart that run game. I think Teddy Bridgewater, they got to be real careful here. Yeah. So if they want to get back on track, time of possession, run game, get back to that. Listen, they've got a nice offensive line for a change here. Ground and pound a little bit, beat up that opposition, do some long 8, 9, 10 play drives that result in good running touchdowns, and eat the clock. And change it up a little bit, versatility in your game plan. We were talking a little bit about the short passing game as a substitute for the run game, but really you don't like to get hit in the mouth if you're an opposing defense, if you've got a big physical line. And look, they've got Sweezy. Right. They've got Humphreys. They've got a right tackle that's doing a nice job. So I just want to see them ground and pound, eat the clock, manage the game a little bit less risky, and get physical.
That's not what Cliff wants. Cliff wants to see Juggernaut or the greatest show on turf again.
He's up.
Well, he does, and I think that's where he's got to continue to evolve. I mean, I want to believe, like those last 5 games, balance. It's still, these are age-old theorems in the game of football that are tried and true. And balance is your best weapon when you look at the run and the pass. So let's see how it plays out. I am concerned.
So I would think if we transition to looking at Atlanta at Green Bay, which is the Monday Night Football game, that consistency might be the word that is used, especially when you throw around with the Atlanta Falcons, because if nothing else, they are not consistent when it comes to being up in games and being able to hold on to leads. And if nothing else, I want to get my the opinions of my esteemed colleagues when it comes to the Atlanta Falcons as to whether or not they can hold on to a lead. Because I can't imagine that if you're on the defensive side of the ball or whatever it is, if you're in that unit that is doing everything you can to make sure you have the lead and not believing that you can maintain and hold and keep that lead, that has to be very discouraging. So I want to start with you, Casual E, and get your thoughts on this this Atlanta at Green Bay game, the Monday night game. What you got, man?
This is going to be one of those shootout type games with a lot of points go up on the board. But here's going to be the difference in that game. Whichever team can punch the ball through the end zone in the red zone is going to be the team that wins. And that's where Atlanta struggles at. They can score between the 10s and run you up and down yardage and get they can get you 400 or 500 yards in passing, but when it gets to them inside them 10s, and sometimes those drives bog down inside the red zone, and for some reason they can't get their number one guy, Julio Jones, in the end zone. So Packers are not having any issues this year so far getting in the end zone. And the Packers have incorporated a hell of a running game. So this is going to come down to who can score the touchdowns in the red zone and who can finish. And we already know who can't finish. So,
Sean, what you got? Sean, what you got in this one?
What I'm about to say will make no sense. The only way that Atlanta can possibly win this game is that they won't have a lead to squander. Of all the teams to feel safe with a lead against, Green Bay will erase it. So their only way to win is to be down the whole game and come back from behind. That's the only way Atlanta can win. If they get a lead, they're screwed.
They can't get in.
They're screwed if they get a lead. I'm going Green Bay, by the way.
Jude, what you got in this one? Because that has to be frustrating, especially when you're looking at games like this and you say, goodness, you have all the talent in the world, like Earl alluded to, but you can't, as my partner and I like to say, you just can't get it to quite curl right and finish it out.
let me tell you something. I think the best thing the Packers did last year was draft Jordan Love, because it's created a sense of urgency from Aaron Rodgers that we haven't seen in years.
That's true.
And I mean, it's a very unique way. And I got to tell you something, whether it's Devontae Adams or Aaron Jones, I mean, this Packer team is not going to be beat at home. Atlanta is there's going to be Dan Quinn rumors in the next few weeks. A lot of pressure on him. So I can't go against the Pack at home at Lambeau. This is a team that is poised to make a nice run in the postseason. The Green Bay Packers, and Rodgers, as I said, is having. He looks like the Rodgers of old that we really haven't seen in about 4 or 5 years. I mean, and they've got talent, and they're much better defensively than they've been in recent years. So I'm optimistic that Green Bay's back in the postseason, and I can't go against the Pack.
All right. So let's move on to Cleveland at Dallas. Now, when was the last time that we can remember that Cleveland was above 500? And I'm going to start with you, Jude, here, is that when you look at the collection of talent on the Dallas Cowboys, you would expect that typically over the last handful of years, we expect them to perform better than what their talent is. And when you're looking at Cleveland, especially with Baker Mayfield and his bombastic personality, you expect big things because of that. And so I wanted to get your thoughts on this. Again, Cleveland coming in at 2-1 and Dallas coming in at 1-2. And it's going to be interesting if Dallas ends up losing this game. So I want your thoughts on how you think this game will play out.
Well, I got to tell you, I'm from Cleveland. My dad, way back in 1964, and I'll never forget this game. I went to what then was the NFL title game. Didn't have the Super Bowl just yet, and I saw the great Jim Brown.
Oh, wow.
Running the football when they shut out the Colts that day, and it was unforgettable. So my heart's with the Browns. Now, having said that, I've got a good friend that's the assistant offensive line coach, Scott Peters, who played his ball for the Cardinals and at ASU. And he thinks they're loaded with talent. Dallas is a tough place to play. I think Dak, man, when he's on, he can be a fantastic game-changing type quarterback. As much as my heart's with Cleveland, and I'd love to see them have a breakout year. And maybe, just maybe, we're going to see the OBJ of old in a game like this, with national television implications. I still can't go against the Cowboys. I think, look, they're 1-2. They can't afford to drop another game. There'll be a little bit more desperation. I think they've improved their special teams a ton. I'd have to go with the Cowboys in this one. As much as I love the Browns and grew up as a Browns fan, I can't go with them on this game. Tough place to play. I think they'll have some fans in that stadium, by the way, not a ton, but I think Cleveland has a tough time winning on the road.
Interesting. What you got, Sean?
I'm really so close to picking Cleveland because, they have my soft spot just for whatever reason. I just want them to finally do well, But I know Dallas is faker than that fake onside kick that I still can't believe happened. But as of tonight, I reserve the right to change it. But as of tonight, 500 yards of offense on average for Dallas makes me pick the Cowboys when at home. So I'm sticking with the home team, although I really want to pick Cleveland.
Yeah.
Earl Burnett.
The Browns have one competitive opponent that they've played this year, and that's the Ravens in the first game. But the next two games were kind of like a tune-up game to try to get them back on track. Now they get another opponent to come in here that is worthy to be a good team, to say they're a good team. Let's see where the Browns really are. We'll see where they really are. Will we get that team to divert back to the discombobulated Browns? Dak Prescott and the Cowboys should be 0-3, but they are a good 1-2 team. They are really good offensively. And he is the focal point, he's the leader in passing yards in the NFL right now, but he should not be, because I think that they need to lean back on Ezekiel Elliott being their focal point rather than Dak Prescott. And if they get back to Zeke Elliott being the focal point, then they can balance out that attack a little bit more and be that team they were a couple of years ago when they were shocking everybody as rookies, when those two were rookies. I'm going to definitely take Dallas in this game, but man, I want to see where the Browns where they really are right now. Have they really turned that corner too?
Lean back.
Interesting. So let's get into Philadelphia at San Francisco. That is the Sunday night game, and oftentimes we know that the backup quarterback is the most popular. And so with San Francisco coming in at 2-1, and Philadelphia coming in at 0-2-1, which is pretty much being like 0-3, pretty much. I'm still that dude that probably through no fault of his own, but that Wentz is just he just hasn't led up to all the hype coming in, especially after the first few games, and there's all this high level of expectation and excitement. So I want to get your thoughts on this, Sean. What do you think about going into this game, San Francisco, Philadelphia? Your thoughts?
Man, I'm going to keep it short on this one. San Francisco dismantled the Giants with virtually no one on their roster, with everyone being injured. They'll do the same against Philadelphia, who would rather just settle for a tie, let's be honest, because that game was pathetic. So I'm going with San Francisco at home.
And Jude, what do you got in this game?
Man, I'll tell you, I think this young guy's pretty good, and he doesn't get a lot of kudos. I'm talking about Nick Mullins. Did a really good job. Shanahan adjusted well. That's something I want to see Cliff do. Mostert's a really talented, one of the fastest running backs in the league. I think between game management, Philadelphia continues to struggle. I'm taking the Niners, and I think it could even get a little ugly. The Niners at home, when you got to travel all the way west. Tough game for the Eagles. I see them losing again. I'm taking Mullins and the Niners.
All right, Casual E, what you got?
I'm definitely going to take the Niners in this one as well, and it's all because of the Kyle Shanahan system. You can put any quarterback in that system, and they're going to look like a all-pro quarterback. So I like his system. I like the people he put around his quarterbacks. How he evens out his run game with the passing game. So I like the system, and like you said, they dismantled the team with backups last week. So and they're going to be playing against a quarterback that looks like a backup. So I think it's going to be the Niners running away with this one.
So we got Chargers going into Tampa Bay. Chargers are 1-2, and the Justin Herbert era is definitely underway. The thing that sucks is, I mean, man, you going in trying to get, hey man, my ribs are hurting, my ribs are hurting. Can you just give me an injection? The next thing you know, you puncture my lung, and I'm out for multiple weeks, and it's not just that I'm out for multiple weeks, but as the saying goes, I get Wally pipped, for lack of a better term, and somebody's just coming in and just sliding in. Word to Ready for the World, slide over, baby. So Tampa Bay Buccaneers are coming in at 2-1, of course, with Tampa Bay, which that saying kind of sucks.
Come on, yeah.
But so want to get your thoughts on this. We're going to start with you, Jude. Your thoughts on the Chargers going into Tampa Bay to see if the Tampa Bay Buccaneers can improve to 3-1. Your thoughts?
Well, as you said, the Tyrod Taylor story is just hard luck, man. And I think Herbert, he seems to be a much better pro than he was in college. He had some very inconsistent games. The loss at ASU, the last year or so, and I can't go against Brady. And I got to tell you, a guy that I truly miss because he was such a personality and what he did for the Casa kids, Bruce Arians. I'm pulling for the Buccaneers. I think that, I'd like to see him get Gronk involved a little bit more. They just got too much talent, especially when you look at Evans and let's see if Godwin comes back. But I really like this Tampa team a lot, and I don't make any bones about it. I miss Bruce Arians. I think there was an interesting departure, and I guess what I'm saying there is that I'm not so sure there wasn't more to that story when BA actually left the Arizona Cardinals. I think that, there might have been some interesting intrigue in terms of BA getting a lot of the headlines and just the personality that he was. He was a big personality. I loved covering him. He tells it like it is and was raw and real for so many ways in the way he coached and the way he lived his life. So I think he's destined for a really, really good year. I think Brady's out to prove he's still got it. I can't go against Tampa and the Chargers. I'm taking the Bucks.
What you got, Casual E?
Yeah, this is pretty simple. After the Saints lost, having no preseason games this year, and the offseason being all COVID filled, and they couldn't do everything they had to do in the offseason. These next few games, these 3 games after the Saints, have been tune-up games to get Brady and that offense on track. And this is another one of those tune-ups before they go to the real meat, which is next 2 games, Bears and Packers. So I'm going to definitely take Tampa to get a little bit more on track.
And Sean, what you got?
Yeah, the Tampa Bay offense as a whole, I think, is finally clicking a lot better than it was in week 1, but their defense will need to stay on point against the Chargers. They put up a lot of yards on offense. They don't always put up a lot of points, but they put up a lot of yards. Godwin, doubtful for the matchup, but I'm looking for Howard to be a big factor for Tampa. I'm going Tampa at home.
Now, sometimes because my dad is about 6 feet, and I'm not 6 feet. I'm about 5'10". And so sometimes when I would go out into the backyard, depending on where I was, I would try to get up on my tiptoes and look over the wall, and and see what was going on the other side of the wall. And that reminds me a little bit of Drew Brees. Stop laughing at me, casually. You know where I was going. So we got New Orleans Saints. They are going to be going up against the Detroit Lions. Both teams coming in at 1-2, and it's interesting to me. And I'm going to start with Drew because one of the things I want to ask him because he a vet. So how many quarterbacks perform at a high level have you seen that could really get up on their tiptoes, like me trying to do like the pirouette, and they just get up on their tiptoes and try to that throw just over that linebacker or over that lineman. But I want to get your thoughts on the New Orleans Saints going up against the Detroit Lions. Your thoughts on this one, and of course, tiptoes with Drew Brees.
Well, it's interesting. People have been talking kind of quietly a little bit, and maybe more than quietly, about the lack of velocity on Drew Brees' football. I think that when you look at the Lions, though, unfortunately, even coming off a win against the Cardinals, I think Peyton is too good of a play caller. They'll have a plan in place. I'm not sure if Michael Thomas is coming back for that game, but I can't go against Peyton's play calling and Brees and a team they should beat. This team is still too talented. I love Kamara. I think he's just a tremendous talent. And their defense has improved over the last few years. So I'm going to take the Saints in a rout of the Detroit Lions. Sad for Patricia, but I think they go down, and they go down big.
Well, Patricia's going to have a number 2 pencil that is ready to be able to write something down on something. So what you got, Sean McConnell? What you got on this one?
I am hearing word that Thomas is looking to return to this game, which will be finally a get-right game for Brees and company. Lattimore and Jenkins both questionable, though, in the secondary, but if they play, guaranteeing a very big victory. New Orleans.
So, what you got, Casual E?
Yeah, they will calm that Detroit happy locker room up. They got happy they won that game last week. Okay, we know you won. Okay. But New Orleans Saints will go ahead and get back on track because Michael Thomas is playing in this game, and that'll put Sean Payton's play calling back together like he really wants to see it, because Michael Thomas is not just a threat as a receiver; he's a decoy for that team as well. So you put that decoy with Kamara, and they look like the old Saints. But I'm gonna give you what Drew Brees is suffering from when the arm starts to lose that velocity. It's called noodleization.
You a fool, man. You a fool. I want to say this though. I'm upset with. I'm still upset with you.
Peyton go through that, didn't we?
Trying to go through, trying to have a deeper voice than mine. I don't appreciate it because when I walk into Starbucks, sometimes they say, "Javon, Jay, how come you talking like that? Give me a."
Oh, stop!
Give me this. Give me.
I want the
coffee.
Casual E special.
Dude, give me that. But anyway, so this is the fourth segment of the show. So this is kind of the quick hitter segment. So we're going to go through this at a little bit of a quicker pace. So I want to get your thoughts on Indianapolis at Chicago. Man, for real, Chicago is 3-0. I mean, Trubisky, Foles, and then we have Indianapolis with Mr. 1-year contract coming in at 2-1. Your thoughts, Indianapolis at Chicago. Your thoughts first, Casual E. What are your thoughts on this game?
I'm just going to tell you this. I'm going with Chicago, and I'm going with Chicago because the Chicago Bear receivers are going, wow, we really can get the ball downfield now? And that's what they're thinking when they get Nick Foles to come in there and replace Trubisky. Now they feel like they can really do something, those receivers. So I'm going with Chicago to take out Indy.
And Mr. Drew LaCava, what do you have in this one?
Tough to go against Allen Robinson. I think he's playing at a Pro Bowl level, and whether it's Foles or Trubisky, I am impressed with Nagy as a play caller. I think as much as I'd like to see Rivers finally do something in his career and get to a postseason, I don't see it happening. I got to go with the Bears, and the Bears probably in convincing fashion.
Interesting. What you got, Sean?
It's kind of a toss-up game for me, but I can't deny Foles from his destiny, stealing starting jobs from overrated quarterbacks. Chicago wins. And can I say, I think that Chicago plays better when there's no fans in the stadium. I think the fans are the reason why the ball flows around in the air so much. It's not the wind. It's the lack of fans that's doing it.
Oh, man. So there will be no fans that will be watching this next game. And I just wanted to mention this. Of course, I put it in the fourth segment because there ain't no game going on. So Pittsburgh at Tennessee. And, of course, because COVID-19, as my man Star Saxon likes to call it, the 1-9, the 1-9 has definitely reared its ugly head in terms of into the National Football League. So we know that there will not be the game has been postponed, the Pittsburgh at Tennessee game. So just wanted to kind of mention that. And so it's interesting to keep in mind in terms of how this might play out with future weeks, in terms of how that might with different games, and how that this postponement, how that might affect future games, etc., depending on how this possible outbreak spreads or does not spread. But the Thursday game, Denver at the Jets, it was the Thursday game. Denver ended up winning that game 37-28. Just a quick thought on how you guys saw this game playing out. I'm going to start with you, Sean. How did you see this game playing out? Again, Denver was victorious 37-28.
Now, I jokingly put that this game is going to be a shootout and then said that they would win 3-2. I picked Denver. I picked it right, but I got the score way wrong. So, hey, sarcastically correct.
What did you have on this one, Casual E?
The only thing I was going to come out of this game was at the end of it, did they send Adam Gase home for good? Because he's got to be up and ready to go out of there, right? About now, right? Yeah, with the eyes. Yeah, his eyes have got to be opened up like, you want me out? I had Denver in this one. I didn't see the Jets have any type of flow to that team at all.
And I'm gonna throw you a little bit of a curveball, Jude. So without even making you have to pick this game and look at retrospectively at this game, but you've been in this business for quite a long time. How often have you seen coaches come in and maybe out for the first press conference, and then from years later, you just knew, you already predicted this guy is not the guy? How often has that? How accurate have you been when saying this guy is not the one that's going to lead us into the promised land? How accurate have you been?
Well, it's like the old line, and I'll tell you what, organizations win. And, if they would have done some intel on Adam Gase, and thank God the Cardinals didn't select him. He had problems with players in Miami. All you got to do is your intel and ask players who played for him. He's a very tough guy to get along with. He's a horrible media guy. He's not a very personable guy. He's not a very inspiring guy. So I'm not surprised. I will say this. I think Mark Rippon's son is given some opportunity here, and he might just get one, has a chance to be a pretty good quarterback. I'm a big believer in the bloodlines, and we know Mark had a nice long career. But let's see what this kid can do at Denver. I'm not sure exactly how long Locke's going to be out with that shoulder injury, but he played well tonight, looked good tonight, made all the throws. So we'll see how it plays out. But again, I'm always amazed at the lack of intel when it comes to such a big, important hire. And I could tell you, in just when they did talk to Adam Gase, I think it was somewhere in that process before they hired Cliff. Man, that would have been a horrible choice, and it's turning out to be a terrible choice for the Jets.
Man, my back is curling up just thinking about that. Like, we almost had that dude.
So let's get into Jacksonville at Cincinnati. Both teams are coming in, and I want to double check on this. One team is coming in 0-2-1. That's the Cincinnati Bengals. The Jacksonville Jaguars coming in at 1-2. Joe Burrow from the sniff test, the initial test in this first quarter of the season. We're looking at Joe Burrow and saying that he has all the necessary tools to be successful. He needs to get more around him to be successful in terms of as a team. So your thoughts quickly on this one, Jacksonville at Cincinnati. Let's go with you, Casual E. What did you think about this game?
Man, this is a must-see game. It's like a movie. White Goodman versus Kevin McAllister. I like this game though with those two quarterbacks. I mean, Burrow is the real deal. I'm going with Cincinnati getting their first win. That kid has been working his butt off. He deserves a win.
What you got, Sean? What you got?
Yeah, Jacksonville struggling to be consistent. I'm going to give the rookie his first win at home. Cincinnati.
And, of course, Mr. LaCava.
I got to tell you, Cincinnati has the worst defense in the league, and I still think that Minshew, when he's on, and he's been a little inconsistent throughout his career here, but I'm going to take Jacksonville to win at Cincinnati. I'd love to see Burrow win, and I think he's going to be a great, great quarterback. They just don't have the defense to slow down Jacksonville offense, and I'm a fan of Minshew. I think he's a character. He can zing it around the field, and I'm going to take Jacksonville to win.
He's a character just like in dodgeball. White Goodman.
Yes.
So Giants at the Rams. We have the 2-1 Rams coming in at the 0-3 Giants. Let's get your thoughts on this one. Let's start with you, Sean. Who you got in this one?
Hey, the Rams offense is clicking. They win.
and Casual E, what you got?
I second that, and they pissed off too. They lost last week.
And of course, Drew LaCava, what you got?
Yeah, I can't go against the Rams. I mean, I just think that McVay's out to prove that Super Bowl loss wasn't a fluke, and I think they're right there with Seattle as the two teams to beat in that NFC West. I think the Niners are still going to be in the mix, but that's why Arizona has got to try to get this win at Carolina this week.
Yep,
indeed. In the last game, of course, two winless teams, not unbeaten, but
undelossable.
Undelossable, exactly. Houston, Texas, Minnesota Vikings, both coming in winless. Goodness gracious. Let's start with you. We're going to start with you, Casual E. What's your thoughts on this game?
When you got two struggling teams like this, it's going to have to come down to quarterback play. So I'm going with Deshaun Watson definitely over Kirk Cousins for sure.
And Sean McConnell with the fresh haircut.
Fresh haircut. What would have been a good matchup last year is now the garbage game of the week. The home team wins. I'm not even naming them.
Right.
And before we get to you, sir, we want to say thank you so much for joining us this week. We appreciate it for putting up with our hijinks and our antics. So the one and only Jude LaCava, what do you got in this game?
I'm taking the Texans. I think they're due. They've had just a brutally tough schedule to start this season. I don't see them losing at home. I like the Texans. And let me say this, guys. I'm really, really impressed with the league supporting the social justice issues. It is long, long overdue.
Absolutely.
I hope that the trends that we're seeing out there in terms of registering to vote will really be significant when it comes election day. I don't like to get political, but I'm going to leave it at that. But I'm happy to see this league finally supporting the players and many of these social initiatives that are so long overdue. And I'm proud of the NFL. I think it's something that's been long overdue. And we've seen it throughout the history of this country, whether it was the great Muhammad Ali, and Tommy Smith, John Carlos. It is time for this to be an equitable America for each and every American. And I'm just hoping for an unbelievable turnout on November 3rd, and let your voices be heard.
And I'll let you take us out today, Casual E. But I will say thank you for that, Jude. I am unfortunately less optimistic. I think as I've seen things happen, and when I'm out and about and I'm walking and seeing different things, and sometimes the way the looks that I get, because I'm definitely, you can't mistake me for passing. I'm dark skinned as dark skin can be, and so there are some times where I'm encouraged, and other times where I've seriously called my wife and I've asked her, why don't they like us? I've asked her that. Why don't they like us? Because I don't get it. And so but I hope, and I want to be optimistic, and I'm a man of faith, and I believe that there are definitely greater things upon the horizon. And so if we have folks like you that can look at the character of a man and not look at the skin color, then that gives me hope. And so I appreciate you for joining us today. So Casual E, I'll let you take us out.
Yeah, I second that. I'm not as less optimistic. I believe that notch by notch by notch, and everybody has to do their part. It's going to take more time. It's going to take a lot of time to get where we really want to be. 400 years didn't just start. It's not going to get erased that fast. So I'm looking at trying to set things up for future generations, and we have to just get in those polls and do what we have to do. I definitely believe that. But at the same time, Jude, you mentioned earlier in the show about those Casa kids. I want to just say that we are partnering with them now. Bruce and Christine turned us over to them, and we have picked up where they left off when they left the Valley. So we are with Casa, so we do a lot of things with them. And so want to say,
well, I'll tell you, I had a chance to sponsor a kid and become a Casa, and it was one of the most gratifying experiences of my life. Sadly, my wife and I were unable to have kids, but he's like my kid, and he's doing well. He's at Arizona State University in his second year, and I'm real proud of him. He played football at Thunderbird High, and it is a tremendous, tremendous program, and I salute you guys for supporting that program.
Absolutely. Thank you again for coming in and giving us your time tonight, and hopefully we'll have you back.
You got it, man.
All right. That's the one and only Jude Cava, former Fox 10 sports.
Yes, sir.
Sports anchor. That's how we do it, man. That is the Neutral Zone, bro. Until next week. I think I'm gonna catch y'all this week. I think I'm gonna catch up a little bit. Maybe take that deficit down half a little bit. 6 games, that's a lot.
That's what's up. So thank you, Jude. I appreciate it, man, because that's what's up. I enjoyed it, so that's what's up. So I think I'm gonna go and kiss my wife on the cheek.
Peace out.